Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. His name is Joel Annesley. Mr. Joel, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for the invitation to be on your show.
Oh, so thank you so much for the time and the opportunity, Mr. Joel. Firstly, you are an author. You are also a clinical hypnotherapist. You are also a confidence coach. Can you please, Mr. Joel, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. Joel?
Yeah, excellent. Um, my journey started when I was really young, and I identified as a really quiet, shy person. And I went through the process of many, many years later. Um, Once I went through the learning and understanding that I wasn't going to be shy forever, that I wasn't fixed in that identity, that in fact I could choose my own reality. I could choose how I saw myself and not be defined by others. So I went through an incredible learning journey, and that saw me become a coach. And then later on, I studied further and developed the skill set in helping others overcome anxiety. And we do that using a deeper state of hypnosis or hypnotherapy, where we're able to actually talk to the subconscious mind, which the subconscious is that part where um, you have this conscious and unconscious part of your mind, right? And it's often that, when we have a problem in life where we know exactly what we want to change, but it's like, but why is it that why am I not following through? And it's often because we've got a disconnect. So um, it's been an absolute gift to be able to help people, especially those that have so much like crippling anxiety, to be able to share my gift with my clients and through my coaching. And more recently, I actually relaunched my book. So I'm going to hold it up for those who are watching. Um, oh, I don't know if you can see it on screen, but it's called Quiet Confidence, Breaking Up with Shyness and Silencing Self-Doubt. And it goes through some of the stories and experiences that I had when I was a child, and some of the realizations that I've since had, throughout my life, how I've been able to see life differently. So that's what I get to do. And it's an absolute joy to be able to help people. It's almost like I get to go back and, in some way, help that previous version of me that felt so helpless and felt so alone in the world. So it's my gift that I love sharing with people, and I'm so pleased to be able to share a little bit of my findings and insights with your audience.
I'm so glad you brought this up, and I'm so glad that you are doing your part because it is not easy when someone is in our early life, which many of us could face when we are young. The sense of shyness when one is shy, but when the time comes, the development comes in, anxiety will come, but we know how to solve those anxiety and giving it to others and helping others to also improve their life regarding that. And also writing a book now is very, very beautiful, which I would also like to dive to, Mr. Joel. Quiet confidence. I know you've discussed some aspect about the book, but can you please discuss more about the book? And do you also plan to write more books in the coming future, Mr. Joel?
I do actually. Yeah. So I've started writing a follow-up book, which I won't talk too much about yet. But what actually happened is I launched the first version of my book back in 2018. And all throughout COVID and post-COVID, um, I went through this process of learning, as we do as human beings. Every day we're learning something new. And so as I started writing my new book, I realized that I wanted to go back and put some of the new learnings and findings in the existing book. So I released the second edition of my book only last month. And I had the opportunity to get back up on stage and speak to an audience that when I was a child, I would have been absolutely terrified, absolutely terrified. I would be shaking, you know. And it just goes to show it wasn't me delivering this grand performance. It was being able to be humble, to be able to stand up there and share my truth. And if I could say to anyone listening out there, if you've been through an experience in your life where you feel like you don't have the voice or the power within you to share what's important to you, hear my words that you have a gift, you have something to say, and the world needs to hear it. And if I could encourage you that it's worth going on that journey of learning how to safely step out of your comfort zone and learn different strategies to be able to overcome the fear. Because this is the key challenge that we're often faced with is shyness in itself is a response to that sense of anxiety that's coming up, right? So it's that flight, fight, freeze response. We're actually freezing. We're saying it's this is too much. I'm feeling that sense of fear. So it's that protective mechanism that's actually, saying to us, I'm in danger. I need to retreat. But what happens is that it's that sense is overacting. It's triggering when it's not really needed, right? So there's so many times that I can recall when I was younger that I had this feeling of like, geez, I wish I could just be confident. And I really envied. I'd look at people and go, why are you confident and why am I not confident? And what sets you apart that what is it that I don't have that you have? And I had this kind of a preconceived idea that confident people were like extroverts, and I was just like that shy introvert. And I felt like it was like I'm just born with this. This is how I am, right? So if I could share one incredible, I would say, piece of advice, after everything that I've been through, is that true realization that we are not labeled shy, right? If somebody calls you shy, then it's only because part of you internally has accepted and embraced that label. So, a big piece of the book that I talk about is that when you see it as something that's unchangeable, it feels permanent. So the incredible gift that we all have is that realization that we are, as human beings, a collection of patterns. Every day we get up, we follow a certain pattern, we think certain thoughts, we feel certain feelings, and we often have those same thoughts and feelings that keep reoccurring. And because of that, when you have that realization that you have a gift to change the pattern, when you have that awareness is the first part. The second part is developing a strategy in order to be able to interrupt and start to change those patterns. And that's what I help with my clients in clinic and also what I look at in my coaching practice as well. It's giving people strategies to be able to interrupt what they think is unchangeable. Once you do that, life change. Life changes for you in such a beautiful way that you turn around and start to do things that you feel like once was completely impossible. Yeah.
Definitely. And I'm so glad that, we understand better how shyness, how fear can be a very, very big obstacle. And I also love the part, as an introvert, sometimes some people might believe in that, is it because one is an introvert, introverts, either one is an introvert or an extrovert or any aspect he or she find him or herself, one can develop this sense of confidence. Confidence is for
Mm,
every single person, but we have to try our best to know how we could do it and how it could help us, because it is something we need to do so that we could try our best to become more confident and speak more, more confidently. It is necessary. And also, in our life today, there are a lot of mindsets that we have. Sometimes, in your own time, sometimes it could be the mindsets that cause this issue of having this sense of shyness and staying in that bondage of fear.
Mm.
So, what do you think from your experience are some of like one mindset shifts that you think one can do? Probably an introvert or anyone who is an aspect of being shy or having this fear to express him or herself and to build a sense of confidence, or overthinkers. They can move from that they can do to move from fear-based decisions to trust-based life, Mr. Joel.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And here's I want to pick up on that piece around the distinction between an introvert and an extrovert, because that was one of the big pieces that I went through that I tied into this definition, meaning that an introvert wasn't confident. In fact, that's not the case. You can have extroverts that equally suffer with confidence, right? So once we dispel that myth, right, we dispel the myth and we say confidence and introversion and extroversion are completely different things. Um, Introversion in itself is how you get your energy, and that often means you need rest, you need solo time. So for example, when I got up on that stage and I shared from the heart, I loved every moment of it, but the next day I was like, I can't talk to anyone. It's now time to recharge my batteries. So what's really important there is to actually acknowledge that, to acknowledge, right? Once you go through that awareness, we're not fighting up against something that you are not, and we're going with who you are as a person and expanding that, growing that, right? So um, the piece that I want to speak to around the idea of building confidence and that mindset shift that you talk about is that precisely, is knowing that to become confident, you don't have to become someone else. You can enjoy being who you are, whatever that looks like. And I often find this with a lot of my clients. They feel like there's this so much pressure. It's like there's this pressure to perform, right? And I often say a big part of it is that feeling of like I'm being judged. I'm so worried about how I'm being perceived, and I have to say every word right, and then I'm often reflecting on the fact that no human being says every word perfectly. It's impossible. And sometimes people misunderstand the message that we're sharing. That's okay. Sometimes you'll share a message and it will touch people direct, you'll be able to share in a way that really, really touches something in them and create a bond and a connection that you otherwise would have never had the opportunity to do. And so I think one of the big pieces that we're coming to here is that realization is that you don't need to fundamentally change, but you can learn to grow and evolve. And you can do it through different strategies. And once you do that, as I said earlier, life changes.
That shows that it goes back to our true self. We as
Yeah,
humans, we have to
yeah.
work on ourselves. If we show our true self, and I also agree with you, Mr. Joel, the pressure sometimes is huge. And the pressure sometimes, makes us believe that we need to just do it in this certain way. But that is not the case
Mm.
in the most time, because that's even hinders and even still keep us in a sign of cage, which gives us the sense of fear again. We have to first stay with our true self, who we really are. We do not need to hide it. We need to show it off and let people know this is how this person is. From there, we start to learn. We start to have some kind of pain. We start to develop that. Then continue to stay to that true self and seeing how to learn, embracing the beauty of life. I think the confidence starts to build because it's not going to come once. It's going to come to something that is, continue to develop and develop and develop. But we have to work to
Mm,
stay with our true self, which I really, really love with what you said earlier, Mr. Joel. And also,
mm,
I would like to dive to the point of ways that you could walk us through a practice or strategy that you think can also help the body to bring this kind of calmness. Because when we have this kind of calmness and confidence, it's very, very necessary. So, can you just walk us through, Mr. Joel, practice or
yeah,
strategy that you think can calm the body and bring one back to confidence in high pressure moments, Mr. Joel?
totally. Totally. So I'm going to give you a little practice. The first thing I want to do is explain what confidence is. Okay. So confidence comes naturally through learned experience, right? So as we develop, and this is why often when we start to learn something new in life, you have this incredible sense of anxiety. Can I do it? Will I be able to do it? Right? And then as you start to build and build knowledge in a particular area, you naturally start to build confidence. And so once you study something and you come through to the end, you go, wow, I know my stuff. I'm feeling confident. Now, what I will say though is how do you help in a moment where you're not feeling confident? How do you create a confident state of being that can help build, right? So this is the piece I want to share with you. And it's actually from, it's called neuro linguistic programming. It's NLP. It's an NLP technique that I often share with my clients, and it's called anchoring, right? And so the idea with anchoring is, and we do this naturally as human beings, all throughout our life, when we have certain moments that we go through and an emotional, perhaps we might go through an emotional time in our life and we hear a certain song. And it's almost like now that song, whenever we hear that song again, we're triggered or we're anchored to that particular moment in time and that emotional state. And sometimes that can be really challenging. For example, if you've been through a breakup or a heartache and you hear that song and it just takes you back to that moment. But on the flip side, here's the thing. We have the ability to create our own anchors. We have the ability to trigger beautiful states of being. We can trigger states of calm. We can trigger states of confidence even in the middle of a meeting where you're completely feeling overwhelmed with anxiety, you can trigger confidence. So that's what I want to share with you. And without going into the full exercise, I want to talk you through how you can do this. Okay. So step one, what you really want to start to do is identify what is the state that you would like to create an anchor. So if quite often with my clients, it's like, well, if we're trying to interrupt a state of anxiety, we go, what's the opposite? So what does confidence feel like? What does calm feel like? And then we go through an exercise of actually, closing your eyes, starting to, change your breath, do some deep breaths, and take your mind back to a time when you felt that state of confidence. And maybe you might, if you're listening to this now, maybe you could follow along with me, but you take your mind back to a state where you felt that confidence, you felt a sense of calm, you felt a sense of clarity, and whatever word is right for you, whatever's going to bring up that state. And then once you have truly stepped into that state, you make it even stronger. You increase the intensity of that feeling, and then you link it to an action, right? So some people might want to touch their earlobe. They might, touch their thumb and finger together, and so it's doing something that's discreet. It's you don't have to do an incredible power pose or anything that people are going to go, "What are you doing?" You can do something that's going to be very, very gentle, that only you know what you're doing. But what you're actually enabling is whenever you enter a state where you're feeling anxious, you can then trigger or return back to that anchored state and then start to access a state of calm and confidence again. So if anyone's interested in learning more about that, they're more than welcome to get in touch with me. Yeah.
It's very, very necessary. It's very necessary because this, I have to be honest, this entails more details on how one can, try their best to do. So it's very necessary. If one has such issue and want to learn more, it's very necessary because that shows that whether we like it or not, we definitely have this kind of some triggers, some pressures, some kind of past issues that have happened to us. And that sense of having this kind of encounter, something that will just drive us back to that positivity, drive us back to that calmness, something that we can be doing just to keep us busy, that will drive us back to that calmness, is very, very necessary. If we try our best to do it well, I think when those issue comes in, we just do that and it improves us and we'll come back calm again and happy again, which is very beautiful. It is a very, very powerful insight. I have to be honest with you, Mr. Joe. Thank you so much for that insight. I
It's my
sincerely
absolute
apologize.
pleasure.
And also,
Yeah.
many people that might be listening now, they might not know how it look like or know how it look like in real life for someone who is confident. Many are just bonded in that fear, that shyness, and that's let me do this and that. They do not know how it is when one is confident and when one is him or her true self. So, what do you think reclaiming one voice look like in a real life, especially for someone who has been quiet for years, Mr. Joel?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, and thank you for asking it. Um, I would say it comes back to that piece around courage. Okay, so if you've lived a life where you feel like at every corner you're being judged, it's being able to reframe that and say, maybe that I'm just judging myself. And even if people were to judge me, only I get the decision to determine whether I want to take that personally or not, right? So the one of the great realizations that we can have is that we are in charge of our internal world. We get to choose what thoughts and feelings we want to buy into or the ones that we want to simply let go of. And that in itself is profound because I know a lot of people feel challenged by thoughts that come up for them and they believe every single thought. And the truth is, not every thought is valid, not every thought is real. You can have thoughts. I often say we are so creative beings. We make up these incredible stories. But the truth is, most of the time, when we're running anxiety, we're projecting into the future. It's like we're playing out a movie. But the truth is, we're going to the worst case scenario. And the majority of times, we get it wrong. And isn't it actually good in that situation, that we actually get things wrong, right? Because we're actually proving to that anxious self that it's actually it doesn't have evidence to support that anxiety, from being run or running that anxiety under the hood. Yeah. So yeah, coming back to your question, or does that answer your question?
Uh, I have to be honest with you. It definitely answered it. It shows that we as humans, we have to try to know ourselves, to try to know that this voice that we have as humans, we should try our best to know how to be confident with it. It also shows us the sense that we are beings and we also have the power to decide, to accept the thoughts. We also have the decision. It is always our choice. Even I, as a person, I always have this issue. Thoughts will come. It is normal. Every single person, that is how the body has been programmed. Now it is our
Yeah.
choice. And that is why I love the aspect whereby when we are ourselves and we are doing things and staying more confident, we will know when the time comes what we should do next. That is why I like that type of, style because thoughts will come, but not every one of it is valid, and it is always our choice to know the right one we should choose. If it is not good, we should try our best to go back to that encandling to help us bring back those positive energy. So we want to do that thought because whether I want to like it or not, not every thought are going to be the ones that will help us or is always valid. We need to understand that, and that is why, as we humans, what it looks like when someone is being confident, we have to just decide how we could develop it. We have to decide how we could choose the right path and know what to do next at the right time. I think if we could do that, those quietness will come back to confidence and we'll do a lot of things regarding it. It is a very, very beautiful thing. We need to understand, Mr. Joel. So, also, I would like to go back to your book, Quiet Confidence, Mr. Joel. If
Sure.
listeners could take only one truth from your book, what should it be about creating a life rooted in authenticity and self worth, Mr. Joel?
Yeah, that's a really good question. If I could sum up the core kind of message from the book is that, to be honest, confidence or quiet confidence, you have that ability within you already. You have the ability to be confident. You naturally learn confidence over time, but it's not like you were born without confidence, right? And I think that's a really, really important distinction. And that you don't need to become someone else to become confident. Um, in fact, when you think about it, when you were born, you've had confidence from that very moment, right? It's always been there. And to come back to that, I think is incredibly powerful. And that realization is that you are not fixed in your thinking. You have the ability to change and to respond how how you see your inner world. And once you really step into that frame of mind, you become unstoppable. You start to safely do the things that you would otherwise put on hold. Otherwise, you were too shy to do. And this is the piece I probably say is really, really important to come back to, is this idea that, how would I say this? This idea that um, you are capable and you don't really have to feel ready. You just have to feel willing. You have to feel willing enough to take the next step. And that is the key, right? It's this piece about safely expanding your comfort zone because once you do that, that's when you take positive steps in the right direction. But without the right strategy, what can happen is you end up going too far out of your comfort zone too quickly. And that's when you want to start to run, to hide and retreat. And that's when shyness obviously kicks in. So if you have the right strategy and support, you will become unstoppable.
Beautiful. And also, that is why I love the aspect you said. Confidence is natural. We should live ourselves. We should be our authentic self. We should be our true self. We should live life naturally. If we live life naturally, we understand pressure will come, some kind of obstacles will come. Sometimes we will take decisions that we might later regret. It's happening, it's normal. But that is when we have to know how to learn, then develop from that. But we have to start with our true self. We have to know how to do it naturally. Then, if we can do that, we can decide to know the right thing because it is always our decision to know how we could bring things up or not. We can decide to have this kind of thoughts and have this kind of decision because thoughts will come. have taken the action or not. So we have to know that this thing is right. I need to take it, and we have to know what is also otherwise, and continue to build the confidence. It is not easy. It will take time. But if we can do that with time, and also having this encountering positivity, because when pressure comes at times, we need that in our time sometimes. So it is very necessary. So thank you so much for this insight, Mr. Joy. I honestly appreciate. And also, there is a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. Joel, what do you think that thing will be, Mr. Joel?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, to bring back lost knowledge, I think I would love to bring back knowledge of who we really are, right? A better understanding of the broader picture, the bigger picture. And so I I don't know how to say this specifically, but what I would say is we as human beings, we are curious and we're on this learning journey. And if I could bring back anything in particular, is solving some of our great mysteries about why we're here today. So I think that'd be absolutely fascinating. And yeah, I think I would end on that.
Yes, and also I would like to add that technology has been a great experience, but during our time then, we live more authentic, we live more truly, we live more true to ourselves because there is not these devices, this, influence from other internet and media and all stuffs like that. We're more true to ourselves. And that is why it could be difficult in our time now. And that is why I love what you said. Being authentic is what we've lost, and we have to try our best. The pressure is there. Even social media itself is huge, but we have to know that this is us. We are all different beings. We are humans, but we are all different in different areas. We have to know what works for us, how we can stay with ourselves, and no matter how little it is, let us be proud of it. I also want to use this opportunity to thank you for the time and the opportunity for giving me this important message. This is a very necessary message. Thank you so much, Mr. Joel.
It is my absolute pleasure, and I want to thank you again so much for the opportunity to speak with you today and to share this with your audience from somebody who was so incredibly shy and one felt like I had to hide from the world to where I am today, where I want to share this gift with the world. And I think that's the piece, right? If we can step into what we thought were our failings, turn that around and realize they are a gift and that we can share with the world, that's when you unlock what you call your true purpose. So thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure to share this with you.
And you too, Mr. Joel. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Joel. Bye bye.
Thank you. Take care. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.